Bienvenidos. Soy la bruja Espinada, and I am here with a very special spring equinox reading. So let's get started. I know for the month of March, I've taken a hiatus, or at least part of March and February. Just been very fatigued. So let's waste no time. We have the Three of Swords and we have the Two of Coins. Very, very interesting energy starting off on the spring equinox. This is followed by the Four of Cups, the Eight of Coins, the Knight of Coins, the King of Cups, the Ace of Cups, the Chariot, a lot of cups, Three of Cups, the Six of Cups. Let's shift this over. We have the Emperor and the Queen of Wands. I'm going to stop there, but I might pull more. Okay. So, again, been on a small spiritual, well, not even spiritual, to be honest. My corporate life has been taking over, so I haven't been able to connect with my spirituality as much as I would have liked, which is actually part of this whole learning lesson. Of course, this reading is not for me, but for anyone that is seeking guidance and assistance, some words of wisdom in their life. Sorry, just adjusting. So, there's been a lot that's been going on astrologically, and that includes, Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde and the eclipses during the full moon, and it's just starting. So many different things, so many overwhelming feelings, and now we're in spring. We have already officially shifted or have begun to shift into a new season. We just had daylight savings, if you're where you're at practices. So these and there's quite a bit of heavy emotions here. You might be feeling, hey, I've just been wronged. I feel like I've been backstabbed, or you're reminded, or someone is popping back into your life that is reminding you of some painful experiences that you may have had in the past. Why are these feelings popping up? Why now? Why did it have to happen now? I'm feeling this. This is what I'm hearing. This is what I'm sensing. Well, we've had this card in separate seasonal readings before, and that's why we have the Two of Cups here. Now, the Two of Cups is one of my favorite, well, hold on. Actually, let's backtrack. Let's look at the Three of Swords. I love this representation of the Three of Swords because there's so much that comes into it, right? So, as you see here, this individual has two swords protruding from their chest, which inflicts pain. In the background, you'll see that there's thunder, there's lightning, there's rain, a lot of intense feelings and emotions, right? Which is understandable considering that they have been harmed. But as you see here, if you look closely, you'll see that one of the swords, the individual is holding themselves, and they are causing harm to themselves. They are wounding their own wings. Now, they have the ability, this is explaining that you have the ability to still fly despite the fact that they have tried to knock you down a peg or two. They being some, messed up coworkers. They could be some family that do not have your best interests at heart. They could be friends that are not truly friends. It could be you know, business partners or people that you hoped to have business with, and they're shady, um, regardless of the fact, you still have the ability to fly. But the Three of Swords is showing that the inability to rise from the situation is due to the harm you're causing yourself. You staying in this pain is preventing you from moving on and away from the situation. So that's why we have that followed by the Two of Coins. Again, we've had this reading before. As you look closely, you'll be able to see that this individual is holding on to two different babies. One baby is half human, half bear. The other baby is half bear, half human. This is a representation of that reminder of that duality, the duality of nature versus nurture, that duality of we're human, half divine. We are that balance in life. But if you look closely down here, you'll see that there is a thicket of like berries and things like that. And the expression on the individual's face can be taken one of two ways. It could be that they are concerned from the weight that they are carrying. It could be an expression of trying to sustain what they're carrying, fatigue, concern, trying to put on a brave face. There's a lot of emotions here. And what is highlight, well, one of the other things is this is a coin card. So this could be a decision that you make between there. This could be just about anything. It depends on your interpretation, right? But here with this card, you are given the choice. What are you going to choose? And let's say that this that you've just experienced is in regards to work, because since it has to do with coins, it could be something that you earn monetarily. So it might be a backstabbing coworker at work. It could be. It's not necessarily that that's what it is. It is just something there. Or let's say there's someone that you rely on for financial assistance, or someone relies on you for financial assistance, and yet this pain is being caused. Or it's not necessarily monetarily only, but let's say that you are a source of resource support. Like, let's say you provide childcare. Let's say you provide a friendship is what I want to talk about, or what I wanted to bring up right now. It could be like a friendship where someone relies on you and they emotion dump, or they're just like your soundboard and they don't take your feelings into consideration. So they utilize that resource from you and they don't give back as a friend. Or it could be a romantic situation where it's a feeling of being used, right? That's why this is here, is you have that choice. So remember, when it's a two, it's a balance or a choice. You're trying to balance being a good person while trying to set a boundary, right? Or trying to wean off of whatever support you're receiving, or trying to wean someone off of the support you're trying to give for someone else. But that choice is yours. Dealing with problematic coworkers is a little bit more difficult, and maybe you're choosing to have to deal with it because you need the money. Whatever the case may be, this is a very heavy feeling right now. A feeling of, do I put up with this? How do I let go? Versus choosing how to move forward away from this type of situation. And that's why this reading is here. Now, We're followed by the Four of Cups. The Four of Cups indicates celebration. It indicates preparation for coming together, celebrating feelings of happiness. Does it sound like it contradicts? It doesn't. Everything lines up and better explains. Becomes better explained. So as you see in the background, you'll see here that it's springtime, there's celebration, there's feelings of happiness. The Four of Cups is coming together, right? It's a feeling of coming together. Perhaps that's where this balance comes in. Be like, hey, I didn't think that this connection that I've been having with these individuals would cause so much pain. Rather, that it would cause these feelings of happiness, or this is what I was expecting. These were my expectations. And instead, what were we met with? We were met with struggle. Now, the Eight of Coins is not necessarily anything bad, even though it is depicted by someone who is hurt, someone who is in struggle, as you see that they have tears running down their face. One thing that I want to indicate about this picture is that this individual, you're like, well, it looks like this is not a good card. It's not a bad card. It is a good card. This card is indicating that this individual here, despite the struggles that they may have had, they are taking these thorned vines, as you can see, they're stepping on it, and they're making something of it. So their hands, their feet are injured, but they're taking this, it's kind of the concept of like, you worked so hard for this, right? So when we see the Eight of Coins, we see here that everything that you've been working so hard for, any struggle that you may have met, you only benefit from that. All those struggles were not for nothing. They were learning lessons. They were experiences that you have gained on how to either not do something, how to better do something. That concept of like, I would have done it this way instead. Because now you've learned what works and what doesn't work. That's why this card is here. That feeling of celebration, things don't come easy. Things take work, and that's what the Eight of Coins is showing. Nothing that you have gone through, all the obstacles that you have endured, that you have faced, have not been for nothing. They have been so that you may learn. They have been to bulk up your resume on like what you've experienced. And you know, when you've gone to those interviews and they ask, what is the most difficult situation that you have dealt with and how did you handle it? What would you have done differently? That's what this card symbolizes. This individual has taken those difficulties and made it into a resource. They're braiding these thorny vines, turning them into something. And that is a resource that you can utilize. That's why she's stepping on it. Something that can be utilized despite the hard work it took to make it. What do you do with that? We have the Knight of Coins. I've explained this before with the Knight of Coins. The Knight of Coins is that learning. You're not exactly a page because you're not just learning something, but you're putting those learning lessons into practice. So the things that you've learned, now you're placing them into practice. So that is what the Knight is for. It is a young individual that rides a steer or a cow, rather, as we see the udders here, and they have a bow and arrows. They are learning. They're in a state of apprenticeship, in a state of practice, bettering their craft so that they go from knight and move on up, right? So you're not brand new in what you're learning, but as you learn to maneuver new things, so let's say you're learning about investments, you're learning on how to give back to the community to keep gaining different things. This is a different stage of how your resources and your finances are managed. So all of this is about learning experience. This just is a reminder of you've learned who to trust. You've learned that you can't keep holding on to that pain or you won't be able to move on, right? Understanding balance, what is choosing what is needed versus temporary, need versus want, need versus pleasure. There is not anything wrong with blending a little bit of the two, but be wise about how you manage that. Expecting is not a bad thing. And understand that despite the pain that you may have endured, it's all been a learning lesson. You're just leveling up, especially within securing your resources. All of this has not come without some leveling up, right? So we were talking about moving on to the next step. All of this is very, very, I don't want to say extremely heavy emotions, but it's pretty heavy. There's been some like difficult times. There's been some struggle. There's been some frustration with those obstacles. But that is why we have the King of Cups. The King of Cups is someone who better understands their emotions. They don't attack just to attack. Here they have a gemmed pearl. It is a sea dragon surrounded by water, and the look on their face, their stance, is one of watching and waiting. This is an indicator of a balance. A person that's a king doesn't just do nothing. They are learned in a way that they understand you have to listen before you judge. You have to watch before you react. Being mindful of how you proceed is one of the most important things to do. Now, let's say everything you've experienced here begins to shift. That's what is going to happen during this Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde. There's a lot of shifting, emotional shifting in the way that we communicate, right? But with this, but with the two coinciding, what winds up happening is like people that you care for, people that you have like connections with, have relationships with. It's when you're working through like, who do I want to keep in my life? Who is still a healthy connection to have? And then we come into the Mercury retrograde, which then starts to play with our communication abilities and trying to understand like, oh, like I love them so much, but like this, I can't, they don't understand what I'm saying, or I don't understand why they're doing what they're doing. There's a lot of communication difficulties, but that's the biggest thing. Both of them are overlapping for a reason. This is something new to learn. You're learning new communication styles. So as you're leveling up to be emotionally healthy, you are still learning. Once you've reached this level, that doesn't mean that there is no way that you're not still learning, right? Every moment is a learning experience. And so you are still learning. We have the Ace of Cups that follow the King of Cups. You are still learning. There's a lot of communication that's going to be happening that you have to mind your words, watch what you're going to say, but also understand that it is a balance of like knowing what to say and not just saying it out of frustration, anger, not just blurting everything out just because, right? But everything is happening or is going to happen at a very rapid rate. because we are followed by the Chariot. The Chariot is that indicator of how fast things are going to move. However, that doesn't mean that things are going to come at you at a fast pace. They are. I'm not going to tell you it's not. It's going to come at you at a fast pace. However, since this is your chariot, the way that you process, the way that you react, the way that you maneuver the situations is in your hands. It is your chariot. Things can come at you fast, but if you utilize your communications and your emotional regulation, you can be like, you know what? This is all coming at me too fast. Give me a moment to process. Thank you for your understanding. And if someone's like, or if you could say, can you give me a moment to process? And someone meets you with like, no, it needs to be done now. Be like, you can reapproach them and be like, actually, I'm going to take the moment to process. Thank you for your understanding. And I'll get back to you soon. Right? Business speak, but it works because this is your chariot. This chariot don't belong to no one else. It belongs to you. Now, we were followed by the Three of Cups. More celebration, more happiness. So, I just realized something. I mixed up my explanation of the cards. Okay, let me put a pause. Let me go back. Mistakes happen, people. So, the Four of Cups, I just realized it right now when I looked back at the card and I was like, wait a minute. So, oh my goodness. It makes a little bit more sense. Talking about choices, talking about self-wounding, self-harm, understanding the lesson. This is still expectation. This is still expectation. However, while the Three of Cups is celebration, this Four of Cups, see this person, they're looking at these beautiful cups. These beautiful cups are gold, bejeweled, are fancy and beautiful. And in the background, there is another cup. This cup is a very simple cup. This cup is in nature. This cup is surrounded by fruit, which is abundant, and a bird peacefully singing in the background. The Four of Cups is about expectations. It still is, right? That hasn't changed. However, the expectation is, while there's so many coins here in this reading, that's because you are busy thinking that monetary fulfillment is what's going to keep you happy. But what you don't realize, that what you need is just a 180. It's a 180. Yes, everything that you struggled for, you've earned, and there is nothing wrong with that. You are so capable of being able to create and sustain yourself through all these resources. You have that ability to survive. But you need to thrive. That's something different. Something spiritual. I think personally this is like an attack on me because, I mean, don't get me wrong. I took a small hiatus for a reason. I didn't do 2 readings for a reason. I personally have been so preoccupied with work that I haven't had time, or rather, I haven't had enough energy to make time for my spirituality. This is that indicator. I'm not alone. I'm pretty sure that's where you're at too. Busy working really, really hard. But all that working really hard is only causing you harm. And while you are securing your finances, your bag, you're not looking at the bigger picture of what else you need. It's not just about work to be happy. Oof. Now that also coincides with leveling up, trying to be sure that you are able to better manage your monies, trying to improve your financial situation, or trying to, you know, ensure that you're just happy in the resources that you do have. But there's a reason why emotion is here. We're not, there's a lot that we're trying to accomplish, that we have to be wary and cautious of our emotions, right? Okay. Again, we're still in the learning phase of how to regulate these emotions and how to talk with people, and things are going to come at us fast. But then we're followed by, again, the Three of Cups. This is celebration. This is not just celebration, but like, I have nothing to celebrate. No, 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 no. There's a lot of celebration that's going to be happening. If you follow a primarily like Christian Christian based faith, or Abrahamic faiths, Easter's coming up. I don't know if Ramadan is still going on right now. There's a lot of celebration to be had, a lot of connections, a lot of coming together. It could be business wise where you're coming together. It could be friends that are coming together. There is some type of get together that is going to occur, and it might be just what you need. Having worked, having been dealing with so many heavy emotions, this might just be what you need, a little get together. Now, we move on to the Six of Cups. The Six of Cups here, you'll see it is the Six of Cups tends to be a indicator of connection, is taking what you learn, passing it on. Usually it is also associated with memories, things of the past, fondly remembering things, right? But one of the things that is brought up when it comes to the Six of Cups is it's good to reminisce. There's nothing wrong with that. Thinking back on the good times. Just don't stay stuck in it. That you avoid moving forward, right? So that's what this is. Six of Cups is, hey, there's good things to remember. That's great. Don't stay stuck in the memories. Then we're followed by the Emperor, the Almighty Sovereign. This is a level we're trying to aspire to. This is depicted as the Sword in the Stone, Camelot. That wasn't a story that ended very well. But that's also a reminder that empires can crumble. Not saying that your empire is going to crumble, but this is just an indicator of, like, we take the stories that we know and we proceed with caution, right? Don't be and if you know the story of Camelot, it's King Arthur pulls a sword in the stone, becomes the leader of the peoples, and then there are so many different things that happen within that life, within that story, where I forgot his name. Where his trusted trusted right hand, then falls in love with his wife, Guinevere, and they run off, and it's all tragedy after that. And then the kingdom of Camelot falls apart, right? It's not saying that's going to happen to you because it's depicted by Arthur, but it is just that indicator of, be mindful. An emperor is, even though they're depicted as like the high and mighty, the most powerful, it's that reminder that they are still human, right? They're depicted as the emperor. They're not depicted as God. They are still human. Just a reminder. That does coincide with the Six of Cups, though. If you have good fun memories of someone, remember we're talking about people coming in from the past, due to the Venus retrograde, things like that. Having good memories is great. Putting people on a pedestal is not. That means you're giving someone more power than they need to have, because you need to remember that they are still human. People can make bad choices, people can make mistakes. They're still human. Whether or not you choose to proceed to interact with them is up to you, but do not base it off just beautiful memories. Base it off them being a human. Are they a good human? Or are they not? Now, we have the Queen of Wands. This is depicted by Pele, the volcanic goddess of Hawaii. Very beautiful, very powerful, right? And so this is just a reminder of who you are. You're that bitch. Male or female, non-binary, doesn't matter. You're that bitch. You are amazing. You are powerful. And Pele is passionate, but similar to the King of Cups, someone who's ready, who is mindful, someone who is learning enough not to let their anger control them, not to become overwhelmed by their passions, but are determined and dedicated, right? This is that leveling up. You have a king, you have a queen, you have the emperor. Very, very amazing cards. Now, we're followed by two more. And this is where I will leave it with these last two. We're followed by the Page of Swords, learning how to communicate. This is a page. We're in a new phase of life that as a King of Cups, as the Emperor and the Queen of Wands, we want to be sure that the way that we communicate to avoid any issues is to improve our communications. Again, there's like, I know how to communicate. And it doesn't matter if you know how to, you can still learn how to better communicate. Okay? I don't know who that message was to, but it needed to be sassy. Learn how to communicate. That's what this is all telling you. And sometimes better learning to communicate is just going within, taking a moment to be the hermit. Find that inner enlightenment in order to proceed. So now we will move on to the feminine divine cards. We already did a lot of explanations here. Divine feminine. What message or lesson do you have to add to this reading? We have the okay, I'm trying to make sure I can pronounce this. The divine feminine card that we have gotten is Aquilanda, the goddess of never not broken. Everything happens for my liberation. I choose to become only more love. So let's see what her message brings. I don't think I've ever picked this card. Okay, Aquilanda. So, Aquilanda represents the essence of the phoenix. She's the indestructible energy that embraces change. She knows that everything is conspiring to transform her into only more love and light. Aquilanda is an elusive goddess from Hindu mythology. Her full name, her full name, Aquilanda Ishvari. Ishvari in Sanskrit means female power or goddess, and Aquilanda means never not broken. So she is the goddess of never not broken. She can never be broken because she always is. She is the embodiment of what we try to avoid. That is the dissolution of our ego's identity. Her power is unparalleled. She radiates the potent light and joy that's the goal of change, transformation, or pain, which is what we were seeing here, right? There is very little written about her. She is meant to be known through experience. She is an intimate interior goddess that we meet when we are in the darker moments of grief and heartbreak. I never make this shit up, guys. She knows us where our energy, she shows us where our energy is trapped, where we have been stifled in routines or others' expectations of us. And she whispers the liberation we will experience once we let ourselves break open and allow the new expression of ourself to come blazing through. She reminds us that we always have the power to choose to see every event as yet another opportunity to become more light. To become more of the radiant soul we are here to be. When your soul selects her card, many of us exert tremendous energy in the effort to not break or fall apart. We resist our grief, our heartbreak, or we deny the need to change until the choice no longer feels like it's ours. I know that hits someone really hard. Something sideswipes us in our ordinary life and shatters who we think we are and how we identify ourselves. Here's what Aquilanda reminds us. Vulnerability is our greatest strength. If we are always broken, we can never break. Aquilanda is the most intimate and personally powerful goddess because she meets us in those moments when we can feel most alone, most exposed, and most afraid. She models how to thrive in the midst of change. She uses pain to joyfully and purposefully transform. She sees everything as an opportunity to release what isn't serving her. Remember, that choice. And she knows that being broken isn't a failure or something we should avoid. It's actually the whole point. We are here to let our ideas of ourselves go up in flames so that beneath the ashes, the soft core of who we truly are arises. And so that we remember that it's not the heart that ever breaks, it's the ego. The heart only ever expands. Oof. So, there's a meditation. The meditation is, what heartbreak can I see now as an opportunity to expand? Ooh, Aquilanda. Ooh, ooh. She got into some of y'all's feels so hard. Oh my goodness. Okay. That might hurt a little bit. But we're going to soothe this over with some of Mother Mary's loving affirmations. Divine Mothers, what loving message do you have for our watchers? That's what I love about the Divine Feminine. Sometimes it gets you in a way that's just like hurts so good. It hurts so good because it is a necessary message that needs to be heard. Divine Mothers, what message do you have for our watchers? Those that need... Oh, okay. We have Our Lady of Promise. Our Lady of Promise says, as you labor toward a peaceful resolution and become willing and capable of stepping into the freedom of a new cycle of your destiny, her light is here. Her promise is urging you onward, no matter what is happening for you right now. The deep truth of what is unfolding is her promise of new life. Everything else is just a symptom of that. Have faith, trust her, and believe. Very beautiful. Well, I hope this reading into a new season helps, and I'll see you guys next season.